talking to County Supervisor Jane Parker here about the homeless situation in Monterey County. Jane, one of the things you were just talking about was how many hours it takes to make ends meet as a minimum wage person in this county. That was startling to me.
It's very, very startling, very disturbing. It's something that when I first heard it and saw it, it just hit me so hard. It really, really stayed with me. So they've done a calculation for how many hours per week a person has to work at minimum wage to be able to afford different apartments in our communities. So, and since over half of the jobs in our county pay minimum wage or less, and so many people work part-time, I mean, it's really, it's very, very relevant and widespread, I think, in our community. So to afford a studio apartment, a person would have to work 83 hours a week to be able to afford it. That's 2 full-time jobs, at least. To afford a 1-bedroom, it's 94 hours. So that, yes, and then a 2-bedroom is 108 hours per week, and a 3-bedroom, you'd have to work 152 hours in a week to be able to afford a 3-bedroom apartment. So it's, you can just see that either one person or 2 people, and you start to think about parents trying to support a family, the parents are so busy working that they're not able to be home with their kids and provide the kind of parenting that they would like to because they're so hard-pressed to pay the rent, put food on the table, and all of that. And it just really contributes to a lot of factors that perpetuate the situation.
Incredibly, these are some of the more fortunate people in our county. How many people in this county are chronically homeless?
According to, they have fairly strict definitions, but of the approximately 3,000 people who are homeless over the course of a year, about half of them are considered to be chronically homeless. And the definition of chronically homeless is that they have to have a documented disability, could be mental illness or other physical or mental disability, and they have been homeless for more than a year.
This seems like an overwhelming problem, is it?
It does seem overwhelming. I guess what I really noticed as I was really digging down into the data is that we actually are doing a pretty good job in getting people who are short-term homeless back on their feet, and we're doing some work, but we could do more on really preventing people from becoming homeless in the first place. So a lot of the programs that help out with paying utility bills or one-time rental help when people run into a squeaky situation, or help with car repair, of course food, all of that helps to keep people from being homeless in the first place, or even when they get back into a more stable home situation, they're still probably going to be at risk and needing a lot of those services. So those things happen pretty well. The part that's very difficult and complicated and hard to do is really serving the chronically homeless, because when you have someone with a disability who's been homeless for so long, you have a lot of factors to deal with there. Number one, we don't have enough beds or units for these folks to live, because they need not just shelter, they need some case management, supportive services on an ongoing basis probably, to keep them in a stable situation. And a lot of them work. We have about 150 units currently for our population of 1,200 to 1,500 chronically homeless, but the 150 units that we have that have these supportive services are very, very successful. So a lot of the focus for the preventing and ending homelessness now is focusing on these much more complicated cases.
One thing that a lot of people just don't think about is the percentage of people who are maybe one paycheck away, one disaster away, one illness away from being a homeless person.
That's right.
There's a high percentage of those people living right here in this county because it's an expensive place to live. Is that correct?
That's correct. And one of the things that I think if people stop and think about it, you have in your family, you have among your neighbors and friends, maybe you yourself are just a paycheck away from instability and chaos. It is very common in our area because of the number of low-wage jobs that are kind of at the core of our main industries. So it's really something that is all of our issue, and we're all a lot closer to it than we sometimes like to think. And I think that's part of why these issues have gotten so much emotional response in our communities lately, because we can feel that we're very close to the edge ourselves, maybe. You know, it's really become apparent that particularly when you think about how expensive housing is here and the low-paying jobs, and then you know that, and you know how expensive healthcare is, and the fact that 2/3 to 3/4 of all bankruptcies are, they go back to medical bills. And a great number of bankruptcies also happen because of a family member needing to leave work in order to take care of a newborn child, an elder in the family, or a family member who might be ill or injured. Because we don't have paid family leave, we don't have a lot of flexible time arrangements, we don't have on-site child care that can really help people get through these periods of intense work on the home front, as well as being able to keep their job, keep their income.
Last question for you. So there are a lot of agencies and organizations, volunteer organizations, nonprofits, that are trying to solve this problem, trying to help this problem.
Right.
The best thing an average citizen can do is kind of familiarize themselves with what these agencies are and find out what they need, and whether it's a donation of a building, a donation of money, what can the average person do?
Yes, I think you're right that by getting familiar with all of the allies, all of the organizations and people who are currently working on these issues, they're doing very good work and they can use your help. I would recommend that, and particularly to address the problem of the chronically homeless. Organizations like Interim and the Housing Authority and the veterans organizations that are really working to support the chronically homeless and get them sheltered and on their feet. One of their biggest needs is they need land and buildings to be able to build the housing units where these folks can live. There are about over 1,000 chronically homeless people in our county, and there are only about 150 units